Yay! Well, welcome to Ironically Serious, Emily.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been listening to your podcast for a very long time, so it feels just like so
Oh,
surreal to be on
thank
Ironically
you.
Serious.
Even when I take my massive breaks, that I am telling myself this is the year I will not take breaks because I'm trying to get this podcast, a little monetization going on, but it's hard. It's really hard.
Well, I definitely know how hard it is. I tried to start a podcast like a year ago. I started with just gathering some interviews, and then I was like, this is a lot
It's so
to
much.
take on and handle. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this year I'll be able to launch a podcast as well. But
Ooh.
for the time being, I'm loving being on podcasts.
Yay. Well,
So
I'm glad you're here. We have to tell the listeners that you are one of the only people, we were just talking about this, that I have had on the podcast that I've known since childhood because we went to school together. What school? Was it Keith Elementary?
Keith Elementary in
Shout out.
Cypress, Texas.
Shout out. Anytime I go hang out with my friends in the Heights in Houston, I swear it's like a Houston frat get together with like kids from Sci-Fair and kids from the Woodlands. And I'm just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to see all of you guys drinking and like talk about our, like elementary days. I'll talk about them
Oh
with
my
you, but
gosh. Yes, some crazy times at that school. And then also Spillane Middle School.
Spillane. Oh my God.
That was like a whole thing.
That really was. But we met we weren't like friends, but we were, I think, more in Spillane. But we met in fourth grade because we
Yeah,
both ran for the same position in the student council.
we did. We did. We both ran for historian, which I think is so funny to include in this episode because I would say that's like the thing that probably started my love for attending events
Yeah.
and content creation
Yeah.
because I knew that if I ran for historian in fourth grade, okay, we're 9 years old. I knew that for my birthday, my parents would get me a digital camera and then I would get to go to all the events that the fifth graders got to go
Heck
to.
yeah.
And I'd be the only fourth grader at the fifth grade events because I would have to take pictures of them with my little digital camera. So I was like, you know what? Win win. Let's go for this. And then Taylor and I went head to head.
That is so funny. And you got it. I don't think I got it.
I got it, but
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
remember going to anything. I don't think like they told me like what to show up to or anything. It was like I went to the sock hop. That was like the big deal. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
that that was like you had to get an outfit, like you had to go with like your
Freaking sock hop.
group. It was during school and then it was after
Mm-hmm.
school, and
Mm-hmm.
I even went to the sock hop when I was in middle school. Like that's how big of a deal like this sock hop at Keith Elementary was. I wonder if they still do it today.
I don't know. It's funny you're bringing all this up because like that time my life is kind of hazy. That was like after my brother died like a few years later. So it's always like kind of like I didn't even remember it was historian. I was like, was it treasurer? But I'm like, I'm terrible with counting and money. So I would never, or even any kind of concept, like that sounds awful. So it wasn't that. So the fact that it was historian, and then you mentioned the sock hop, which is hilarious because I know they don't do that at my kids' schools. So I wonder if that was just such an old school tradition or if it's still something they're like, yeah, we're going strong with the 50s sock hop vibes.
I have to know. I want to like go on their activity calendar and see if they do this because it was so much fun. But just like Keith Elementary, I feel like was just a very different school. I had moved from Florida.
hmm
I had attended a private school in Florida in second and third grade, and then moved to Texas. And
Oh,
I
I
was
didn't know
like,
that you were in private school.
yeah, I was in private Catholic school when I was in second and third grade and seventh grade. That's a whole other
Oh.
story, though. But yeah, so I went from a class of like, I don't know, 20 kids to Keith Elementary. Well, we were like switching classes in fourth
Mhm.
grade. We'd go to
Mhm.
like our math teacher and then our reading teacher and then our science teacher. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. I like called my friends in Florida and I was like, well, we switch classes because we're grown-ups in Texas.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I rode my bike to school by myself. Like I thought I was a little adult.
Different
Like,
times. I don't even let my kids go outside without me right there. Like it is such a different life. I mean, even at that age, we were like in Fairfield riding our bikes, all day, all night until it got dark.
yeah.
And then our parents are like, okay, great, you're home for dinner, you know?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, don't even walk to the end of the driveway without a parent outside.
Right. No, exact. I feel like if I had kids, I would be this exact same way. Like, I don't know how my parents were able to just like open the door and let me free all day. I mean, I went all around Fairfield by myself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
everywhere.
Do you remember? This is like an iconic story in my household. Do you remember that little cafe at the front of Fairfield? I would go buy all the boys Jones sodas, and we would take Kaylee, my childhood best friend, her parents' credit card, and we would buy Jones sodas and like pass them out to the boys. And I always tell Josh the story, and he'll tell me like anytime we see a cute guy or something, I'm like, oh, that guy's got nice muscles. He'll be like, oh, you're gonna go buy him a Jones soda? I'm like, dude, maybe. I don't know. How are you behaving?
That is so funny. Yes, I do remember. And I have like so many funny, like crazy memories, like especially in middle school when like all of us would start like meeting the boys down there and
Mm-hmm.
like doing
Mm-hmm.
that whole thing. Do you remember Andrew, who used to like,
Andrew.
yeah,
What's the last name?
Stinson?
Yes, yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. I had the biggest crush on him.
Mm-hmm.
So cute. And we would like walk to Nestle Toll House together.
Nestle, yes, I
Yeah,
remember. Oh my
at the front of the neighborhood. And then one day we had like a big group of us together and we went back to my house and my parents like projected like one of the scary movies, like how those
God.
scary
Mm-hmm.
movie 1, 2, 3, 4 were like
Yeah.
really popular. We were watching that. And I remember like he kissed me on my cheek and that was like my first kiss. But then his friend had paid him $1 to do it. So then I was like
Oh,
so sad.
you're like, you suck.
Yes. So it was so awful. But anyway,
That's
that was
actually hilarious that you say that because my first kiss was at Keith at the bus line by Kyle Wright. Whenever we were like boyfriend and girlfriend, like my
oh
first
my
love ever.
gosh. Yes, I
Literally,
remember
we
him.
kissed by the buses. We'll never forget it. The like bus engines are all like chugga chugga, and there's like gasoline. Like this is
And
so
you're like, what a great
stupid.
time for a little
And then you run
mwah.
away.
Yeah. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah. You know what's crazy though is like Kyle, we were boyfriend and girlfriend in like fourth and fifth grade. And then I moved. Well, no, I was there from fourth to sixth because I went to Splain 1 year and then I moved. Crazy enough, in eighth grade, I think it was eighth grade, I was in Galveston because my current friend, Abby, her parents owned a beach house in Galveston, and we would go every summer and stay for like a couple of weeks at a time and just like do the whole summer thing there. And one time we're walking down, there's like a long street that goes to the beach, and people would always ride their golf carts. I wish I could remember his freaking name. And if I showed you a picture of him, you would know who he is. But I see this kid, and it's not that long, sixth grade to eighth grade. I'm like, oh my God, that looks exactly like whatever his name was. And he's in a golf cart with this other guy. And I'm like, and that looks like Kyle Wright. And Abby's like, who's Kyle Wright? And I was like, only the first love of my life, my first kiss. Swear to God, his friend, who, sorry, friend, don't know your name, had a house in the same exact neighborhood. And Kyle was staying at that house for a weekend at the beach. And we literally had this like
Oh
perfect
my
eighth
God.
grade summer love story. We like reconnected and we like did a little make out and like spent the whole weekend together. And it was just like, and then
Oh my
we
gosh.
left and never really talked again. I was like, that's crazy.
That's that. And that closes the chapter on Kyle Wright.
Kyle Wright, shout out. He's like kind of like a country boy now. I was like, wow.
That's
I
so
wouldn't
funny
say I
because
am sad I missed out on that.
you know what? Sometimes it's better that he's Kyle wrong and not Kyle right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
my marketing brain just went there. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. What a time. Good
I know.
memories.
Such good memories.
You have to kind of share your marketing journey because for those who don't know you, you're in the amazing world of wedding content creation, which is like we were just talking about, so new and badass, but also very, I think people are like, what is it? And can I get into it? And like, how can you pivot into it? But like, take us back to you get the historian role. Did you get the camera?
I got the camera.
You got the camera. Okay.
I
So
did.
then what led you into like a quote unquote more traditional marketing, obviously education, but then to this wedding content creation business now?
So it's a little bit of a story. So, everyone listening, grab a snack,
Mhm.
grab a glass of wine. We're going to take you through it.
Let's go.
I've got a Diet Coke with Santa Claus on it still because
Cute.
we're in the holidays still in my house. It's just, that time of the year. But
Mhm.
so basically, I started to learn how to work a camera
Mhm.
and learn all about how, you can just bring it around with you. There's going to be things that just like spur the moment pop up and you can shoot them, or you can obviously like make the moments yourself and post
Mhm.
people and all of that. So I would play around with that, and that was fun. And what really was like the next level to me having my little digital camera was, so after sixth grade, I moved back to Florida,
Mhm.
and I went to school back to that private school that I was in second and third grade.
Why did you guys go back and why did you go to that school and not public?
So my mom was just having an absolute miserable time in
Oh.
Texas. My mom felt like she didn't really like fit in with the other women. She just like, I don't know, my mom's like, she's very much like a housewife, which a lot of women in the neighborhood that we lived in
Mhm.
were, but she's also like a little like woo woo.
Mm.
So she wasn't like, having her hair perfectly done all the time and like having dinner ready at 5 p.m. And it wasn't like very traditional in our household. And I think she felt pressure from her friends to live like a very traditional lifestyle,
Mhm.
I guess is like the best way to describe it. And so she also didn't have a lot of support. And I have three little sisters, and they were all babies when we lived in Fairfield. So
Dang.
my mom didn't really have a lot of help. And so she was like, let's go back to Florida. That's where my grandmother lives, her mother.
Mhm.
And she had friends there, and she just felt like she could truly be herself. And so we packed it up and we made the big move. And so I didn't know that she was going through all of that at
Oh.
that time. So she's, as I got older, she like really told me what was going on. And I was like, oh, well, I'm glad, that we obviously moved, and, she was much happier. And when your mom is really happy, then everybody else in the
Mhm.
household is going to be like really happy too. I
I
loved
love
my
that.
time in Texas though. I loved being in Fairfield. I think it was like the best thing ever for kids. I don't know if it's the same way that, you know, it was when we were little, but I really enjoyed all of the independence that I got to have as like
Mhm.
a 9, 10, 11, 12-year old. But
Same.
so that's why we did our move. So we moved back to Florida. I jump into this private school, and all of my friends that I had when I was in second and third grade have grown up a little bit.
Mhm.
There are 3 boys in the class and 15 girls.
Oh, Jesus.
And basically, all of them are like this. They're all super close. And they're all in their like very like goth emo phase.
Mhm.
And I come in with like a big pink bow in my hair,
Abercrombie
and
layers, baby.
that's right. That's right. I've got all of that going on. My Hollister, my pink from Victoria's Secret. Like, I am just like glowing. Like, I've always been a very like bubbly, positive, super like peppy person.
Mhm.
And I think that scared them. So they were like, oh, she's not like us. Okay. So I spent the entire year like trying my best to make friends. And it just was like, I just got bullied relentlessly the entire
Mhm.
time that I was there. And I kept trying and I kept trying. And finally, I came home and I told my mom, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I cannot do this anymore. And my mom pulled me out, and I went to a different private school in the area to kind of finish just like rounding out that education.
Mhm.
And then my mom was like, if you want to go to public school, she's like, why don't you make a couple friends in the area, and why don't you see if you like it? So in eighth grade, I attended public school in the area, this middle school called Creekside Middle School.
Mhm.
And I started doing Pop Warner cheerleading. I was elected by all of my friends on the cheerleading team to be the homecoming queen that year.
Of
It
course.
was like, I was finally like with my people, and all the kids at my school were so nice. And I started to pull out my digital camera again, and I started to make all of these fun memories throughout the year.
Mhm.
Now, being 14 years old and living in Daytona Beach, Florida, everybody had started to get their belly buttons pierced.
Oh God.
And
Yes.
yep. So my mom was like, okay, she didn't really want me to get any piercings. And I begged her and would make PowerPoint presentations saying why I should have my belly button pierced at 14 and how cool it would be and blah, blah, blah. And instead of saying no, my mom did something really cool. And I feel like more parents should take out this play from her book.
Okay.
She said, I guess my parents had just gotten their tax returns, so they had a little extra money. And so my mom was like, okay, how about this? You can get your belly button pierced, or today, Steve, who is my stepdad, she was like, Steve will take you to Best Buy, and why don't you pick out an iMac desktop computer?
Mm. You're
And
like, well, shoot.
yeah, I was like, belly button piercing? Who is she? No, goodbye. I'm like, let's go get this computer. So we go to Best Buy. We pick up the computer. It's now like the family computer that's like in our kitchen.
Mhm.
And I discover iMovie, and
Mhm.
I discover video editing, and I pop in my SD card from my digital camera, and all of my memories with my new friends from eighth grade pop up. And I've recorded all these cute videos throughout the year. And this is in like February of 2010.
Mhm.
And I'm like, if I sit here and I keep putting this all together, I want to make a documentary about my eighth grade class.
Oh my God,
And
I love.
so I did. So for the rest of the year, I gathered interviews and I went to all of the events. I went to all the parties. I brought my camera with me everywhere. And I recorded some of the highlights and best memories from the entire year, put them all together in this documentary. And my friends supported me so much, they ended up throwing me a movie premiere on the last day of eighth grade, and everybody came over. There was like 100 kids there.
Stop.
And it was like the start of my career, truly.
I've never heard that story. That is the cutest, coolest, like how fun. Did you like send it to the school? Did anyone like in the school acknowledge it other than the friends or like yearbook or something?
Yeah, so I showed it to everybody. They loved it. It actually got into the hands of the TV productions teacher at the high school that I was going to.
Mhm.
And so I was automatically accepted into the TV and film program there, which was super
Cool.
exciting.
Yeah.
And something also really cool that came from this, one of the cool boys at school called me up and he was like, hey, Emily, Eugene, who is one of my really good friends, even still to this day. I actually just threw my high school's 10-year reunion with Eugene.
Oh, love it.
Yep, we go way back, and he'll never forget this video. So my friend Austin calls me, and he's like, Eugene is moving to Miami. You need to make a video about Eugene. And, we just want to throw him a surprise party and wish him well on this move. And we're all going to miss him. And this is like one of the coolest boys in school calling me,
Mhm.
in eighth grade. So I'm just like, okay, I'll do whatever, you know?
You're like
And
accepted.
accepted. So this is also kind of interesting. So the only place where a group of all of our friends were going to be, because school had just gotten out, was this girl named Megan at her house, and she lived down the street, and her and I weren't friends, so she didn't invite me to her birthday party, but all of my other friends were going to be there. So I
Mhm.
thought, I'll just go to this party. And I was like pulling people aside into her bedroom to like interview them about
I'm
Eugene
obsessed.
moving. And then this girl and I ended up being best friends for 14 years after this party.
Wow.
So that was really cool. So everything is just like, has been so connected with
Mhm.
just like this eighth grade movie.
Yeah, and you're the first camera, which is
And the first
how
camera.
we met. That's so funny. Like, it's so funny
Yeah.
how life, you're right, like, it's so interconnected, and
Hmm.
some things that you don't even think about until a freaking decade later, which makes us sound old, which I feel old, but you're like, "Oh, wow, that completely started everything."
Hmm. It was that one defining moment where I was like, oh, this sounds like it could be really fun. And then over and over and over again, I had that feeling and that thought. And even now in this business, so fast forward a little bit, I'm in high school. I started the live news program at my high school, which was so cool. They still to this day, like they'll run the morning announcements and they
Mhm.
have like the past news anchors.
Mhm.
They'll say like their name or something at the beginning, the intro for the morning news. And my teachers always message me and they're like, oh, you're still on the news even 10 years
Aw.
later. Like, it's so cute. So I did that. And then I got accepted to go to journalism camp at the University of Florida when I was 17, which is just sounds so nerdy that I went to journalism camp. But it was the best thing ever because it showed me that there was not only just possibility in a creative career, but I got to meet a lot of people there that were entrepreneurs and had their
Mhm.
own creative business and they were thriving and super
Mhm.
successful. And so, literally, that summer, I was like, okay, I'm going to start on my YouTube channel interviewing celebrities because I wanted to be an entertainment journalist. And that's what
Mhm.
I originally went to school for. So, I still was in the process of doing all this digital storytelling, getting all this video, getting the interviews, putting it together. It gave me all of these incredible opportunities. I got to go to New York to the 2015 New York Songwriters Hall of Fame Gala, where Lady Gaga
Cool.
was inducted, and
Dang.
Cyndi Lauper, and Zach Brown Band, and Toby Keith, which was so cool.
Yeah.
Um, and from there, like I decided that I was going to transfer out of the University of Alabama, where I had been attending, and transferred to Florida State. And in between, my mom was like, um, I had like a free summer. And she was like, well, would you like to go to New York for that summer? And I was like, well, what would I do? She's like, well, you would go to school. And I'm like, well, the only school I'd want to go to is NYU, and I don't think I'm going to get into NYU. And I ended up getting in for the summer journalism program there.
Mhm.
And during that summer, I got a crazy internship at this place called I'm Schmacked, which, if you are listening and you went to college anytime between like 2012 and 2017, I would say, I'm Schmacked was the way that a lot of people figured out what school they wanted to go to because they were a company that they would go to these universities. They would throw these crazy, insane parties. They would
Really?
film them and put them on YouTube. And people would decide, oh, well, Florida State had the craziest party, so that's where I'm going to go to school.
Stop.
And it was crazy. So I was literally interning at this crazy, crazy place because it just was run out of this guy's giant apartment in Soho. And I would go. And I mean, there was people there all hours of the day, just like random people. There was these two guys that were models. One of them had just been in an ASAP Rocky campaign for Guess. And he's just like sitting there, like casually having breakfast, like showing me his like article. I have a picture of him. I think it's on my Instagram, just like showing the article. And I'm just like, what is my life? This is so random. But while I was there, I learned a lot about social media marketing
How
and
old were you?
growing a business.
18 or
I was I was 20. I
20?
just turned 20.
Oh my
So I
god.
was just like in New York by myself, chilling at some random guy's place. But with all of these other people, guys, girls, most of them models, just like coming in and out. People were tattooing people. Like it was wild.
Stop.
It just, and I'm just there. Like I'm just literally me, just like, okay, cool. Like just kind of observing, um, it was funny, but it taught me a lot about growing a digital business
Mhm.
and how important social media marketing is. So, fast forward a little bit after that, I'm in school at Florida State. I am getting ready to graduate early, and my parents are going through a little bit of a rough patch. They had a
Mhm.
separation, they ended up getting back together. So, it's a happy ending.
Mhm.
But things were not great for a little bit. And in school, the entire financial responsibility of my school, my car payments, rent, food, phone bill, everything fell onto me. And I was kind of forced to get out of like, you know, this babysitting job that I had because I
Mhm.
had to make real money. I had to figure it out. And I was like, well, I just came back from New York from this crazy internship. I know a lot about social media. I know a lot about running a digital business. I have camera skills. I have editing skills. I have on camera skills. What can I do with this? And I
Mm.
started a social media management business before it was kind of a thing to be a
Yeah.
social media manager back in 2016. So I kind of just naturally segued into that. And I hit that right at the perfect time
Yep.
because local businesses were just figuring out that they needed to have a social media presence and it could be a way for them to advertise. And so I picked up a ton of local clients in Tallahassee near Florida State. And I was a 21-year-old with a business. Like I
Mhm.
didn't really know what I was doing, but I was having the best time figuring it all out. I learned how to write a contract. I learned how to put together, a storyline for a business and a strategy, marketing strategies for myself, marketing strategies for them. I learned a lot in a little bit of time, and I'm so grateful to have been pushed in that direction
Yeah.
because I was able to make real money and save real money so I could move to New York City.
Yes. The Sex and the
Yep.
City moment.
The Sex
But
and the
then you're
City
of
moment.
age and you're not underage and yeah.
Right, exactly. Yep. So I moved to New York City at 22 with literally all of the money that I had saved from being a social media manager and just continued in the social media area and grew that into a full blown digital marketing agency that I had for 7 years before I
Mhm.
decided to start Wedding Day Content Creator.
Mhm. What were, like, the biggest fears that you had to, like, get through when you were deciding to move to New York at that time?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, you're like, when you're that young and you're moving to New York, for me at least, my experience, everything was around like financials. Am I
Right,
going
because
to
it's
have enough money
expensive,
to
yeah.
move? Is this crazy? Like, we didn't own anything. Like, my husband and I moved to New York City with 5 suitcases and our dog. Like,
Mhm.
that was it. So, we had to buy furniture. We had to literally get everything. And when you get an apartment in New York, it's not a normal process. It's the craziest process. You have to give them quite literally all of your information and then some. And then you basically have to empty all of your accounts. So
Yeah.
you have to pay, obviously, your first month's rent. You have to pay your security deposit, which is typically equivalent to 1 month's rent.
Mhm.
And then you also have to pay typically a broker fee, which
Mhm.
is equivalent to another 1 month's rent. So when all is said and done, just to move into an apartment in New York City, you need like at least 10 grand ready to go.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you got to turn on the next month and pay month two rent.
Right.
So, like it's a lot up front and then add on buying furniture. And I also didn't know what I was going to be doing, if I was going to continue with my digital marketing company, if I needed to jump in and have other jobs. And sure enough, I decided that I was going to pick up some more jobs. So I was working
Mhm.
three jobs at the beginning because I was so nervous that we weren't going to make enough money and we were going to fail and we were going to be signed to this lease that we couldn't afford.
Mhm.
Because so my husband and I have been together since we were 17, and our last month of college at Florida State, we lived together. And we purposely lived in an apartment that was so cheap so we could save a lot of money. So we went from, I don't know, we split rent and it was like 700 something dollars. So we were like used to paying, like 300 something for our rent each.
Yeah.
And I think our first rent in New York was probably around like $2,300 or something like
Mhm.
that. So it's just like a lot more money to
Yeah.
manage, like in the snap of a finger. So I would say that was the biggest challenge, was just like figuring out the money and not fucking it up. So,
No, for real. And New York is notoriously expensive. So
mhm.
I always imagine for people who live there, but then if they don't have some financial stability or cushion, you can't even do anything fun, which is
Right.
defeats the whole point of living in New York.
Exactly. It's like it's not just the rent, it's where are you getting food? How often are you going out to eat? If the subway is down, you might have to take $100 Uber across town.
God.
Do you have that disposable income? Because, or like, what if something happens on the subway and you're scared, or you're walking and you're scared? Like, it's just, I could go on about all of the New York stories that have happened to me. And it costs you money every single time. So
Yeah.
you better have it.
Yeah, because for those who don't know, you just moved out of New York City.
I did. I just moved out of New York City to West Palm Beach, Florida.
Are you sad? Are you missing it?
I honestly thought I would be sad, and I'm not. But I feel like it's because I work in New York City still. So I
So
still
you get
go
to
back.
go. Hmm.
Yeah, I go back almost once a week.
Are you for
So,
real? Once a week right now? That is
yes.
insane for weddings or for,
For
yeah.
weddings, yep. And then even like I had a couple errands that I needed to run, and I literally went to go show my husband. I was like, am I crazy if I feel like I need to go to the city for one day and I just want to fly in at like 6 o'clock in the morning and fly out at 8 p.m.? Like,
Stop. Did you do it?
no, I didn't, but I almost did because I'm like, this is just a lot. Like, I don't know. I feel like I figured out how to fit it into a different day, but I just, yeah, I almost just went for the day. It's just so easy because it's like a 2 hour flight from Palm
That's not
Beach.
bad. Yeah, that's really not that
So,
bad.
and to get around New York City, like if I had a wedding in New Jersey, or if I have a wedding a little upstate, or if I have a wedding even not that far into Long Island or Staten Island or something, I'd be in an Uber for 2 hours. So I'm like, why don't I just be on a plane for 2 hours and live
Yeah.
somewhere where I can have a better quality of life?
Yeah, totally. What's like one of your favorite Sex in the City vibey stories where you're like, this was just an iconic moment of being a young 20 something in New York City?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I would say, well, okay, I think I have two of them, but I would say my favorite one was when I was trying to figure out the job that I wanted to do when I moved to New York City. And I was at NYU and I studied fashion journalism with Jessica Minkoff. And she would have a bunch of huge people from the fashion industry come into our class. And one of them was Marina Larude, who now owns the big shoe brand Larude.
Mm-hmm.
She was the fashion editor at Teen Vogue at the time, and her and I just really clicked. I found out later we have the same birthday, so I'm like, that's
Mm-hmm.
why we're both Libra ladies. Um, but she invited me to come and take a tour at Teen Vogue
Stop.
when I was 20. And I will never forget that day. I was stressed about what to wear. I'm like, do I wear heels? Do I not wear heels? I don't want to look like I put too much effort, but I have to put in so much effort, because it's like it's Condé
It's
Nast.
like
Like,
Devil Wears Prada vibes.
yes, exactly. So I'm just like, I mean, I guess I surpassed Carrie Bradshaw with this one and just went for the Devil Wears
Yeah.
Prada, but we could carry out. We went for Andy. But anyway, so I, I get up there, they give me this insane tour of Teen Vogue. I get to go in the fashion closet. And it just was like, I stood outside of, they used to have their offices in One World Trade Center. And
Mhm.
so I just stood out there for 45 minutes afterwards. And I just looked at the building and I was like, what is my life right now? Like, what is going on? Um, and then another story is my favorite because it's going out, having a good time with your girlfriends.
Mhm.
So my friend and I decided to meet for lunch one day. She had just started her new corporate job. She was stressed. She was like, I think I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. And I was like, well, let's just go for a lunch and like, I'll meet you. Let's have a glass of wine, some pizza. You can vent to me. And that turned into a whole afternoon.
Mhm.
She didn't go back to the office.
She
she
quit?
she didn't quit, but she just was like, I think I'm gonna be sick for the rest of the day. And I was like, yes, let's keep going. So we went from lunch to the Mark Hotel, which is one of my favorite hotels in New York City. And we wanted to go into the Asulin store because she wanted to exchange a book that she had gotten as a gift. And so we popped in there. We're chit chatting with like the store manager, and she decides to purchase a book about the Carlisle, which is another iconic New York hotel that is down the street from the Mark. So I'm
Mhm.
like, well, we're at the Mark. We should have a glass of champagne here, and then we should go to the Carlisle.
And have a glass of champagne there.
Yeah, yep. So we're, just having ourselves a little bougie afternoon. And so we have our glass of champagne at the Mark. We're like, okay, let's head over to the Carlisle. Let me just tell you, the Carlisle is very expensive because they charge a cover. I don't know
Mhm.
if you've ever been there, but if you go in the
Never.
afternoon, it's $35 a person. And if you go in the evening, it's $75 a person. And if you stay from the afternoon into the evening, like we did, we got charged both covers. So, yeah. And by that point, we were good and had more than a few glasses of wine. So we are now at the Carlisle ordering a bottle and
I love that.
like just having ourselves an afternoon. And the whole funny part of this is since we stayed for so long, we started making friends with the table next to us.
Mhm.
And this poor guy, we are just hammered. We're now asking him about his astrology and we're going on and
Classic.
on. And we're all getting ready to go. And he tells the waiter that he's going to pick up our bill.
Mhm.
The look on that man's face when he got our bill and realized we had been there from the afternoon
He's
and it was
like,
now
"Excuse me?
9 p.m.
Can't take it back. No take backs."
No takebacks. I'm sure that bill was like over $700.
And he paid
I'm,
it?
oh yeah, he paid it. It was like, it just was the craziest day. I've never had a day like that in my life before until that day happened. And I've never had another one like it again because that was a little crazy, but it was so much fun. And like it
Well, your
ended with us.
Miami story was also equally as crazy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we need to get into that one. I
Yeah.
have you have a question about trends and I want to answer that during that
Yes.
because I think it goes really well.
You know what's funny though is like I think back to my early party 20 days where I had money, but I wasn't trying to spend money out. So, you do the classic girl thing where you're like, okay, we're going to go out, but we're going to get everything paid for. And
Right.
now I love it because I can afford it. And it's that perfect time whenever you are like, okay, I can go out and get these bougie things because I can afford it. And then someone still ends up paying for it. And you're like, perfect.
You're like, this is great. We can buy shoes tomorrow.
Yes, exactly.
You're like, I was gonna be out, $400 if I, like if we split this, and now I can go get a nice pair of shoes. Why
Isn't
not?
that hilarious? That's what I love about being an adult. I'm like, and then go out and I see girls, who are clearly doing that. And I'm just like, I mean, it's great when someone pays for it, but it's also great when you can pay for it yourself with your
It's
own money. It feels so good.
it feels so good to just be like, you know what? I'm going to have a bougie afternoon that might turn into a bougie evening as well. And we're just going to keep the party going. And, you know, I could have also picked up that man's tab if I wanted to, which was really
Hell
cool.
yes. We love it. We love it.
Yeah, sometimes I might want to spread the love. You never know.
I'm dead. So when did you shoot your first wedding? And was it I don't actually know this because I don't remember if you started shooting before you actually created your business, like wedding content creator, or did you have the idea and then get your wedding through that, or like how did that happen?
So I saw in November of 2022
Mhm.
that there was this girl who said that she TikToked a wedding for an influencer couple and it got featured in People magazine.
Mhm.
And November of 2022 was a year from when I had gotten married in November of 2021. And throughout my whole wedding day, like there was an element of content that was missing.
Mm.
As someone who is, heavily involved in making content for myself, at that point for businesses and personal brands, it was super natural for me on my wedding day to want to pick up my phone and film the things that were going on. And throughout the day, I realized I'm the bride. My eyes are
Mhm.
shut because I'm getting my makeup done, or I'm being hidden away because XYZ people can't see me.
And you're not in
Um,
it like you would be from someone else's perspective.
Right, exactly. And I'm also not in it. So, but it's like my mom and my grandmother were having a funny
Mhm.
conversation in the corner. My mom, the song WAP was like really popular around the time that I got married. So we were playing that as we were getting ready, and like my bridesmaids and my mom were like dancing to it. And it was really funny, but like I missed it because
Mhm.
I had my eyes shut because I was getting my eyeshadow done. So it's like, all of these little moments had happened. So when I saw that girl say that she had done content for this influencer couple, just a huge light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I need to be doing. I was feeling like a little stagnant in my career. I was ready for something else. And I also was at a point too where I just was feeling really overwhelmed by all of my digital marketing clients and
Mhm.
responsibilities. This is coming off of the pandemic. So
Mhm.
people couldn't market in a traditional way. They ran to digital marketers and social media managers and put the entire responsibility of their business on us.
On yeah, yeah.
And so I was coming off of just like being so overwhelmed for, almost 2 years by that. So I was like, I need something more light, fun. I had had the wedding blues. I loved every aspect of my wedding. I was heavily involved in all of the planning, and I did a lot of fun and different things for my wedding. So I was like, you know what? This is the perfect time to start this business. Being in digital marketing, the first thing I checked to see was available was the search term for my business name. So my business name
Mhm.
is Wedding Day Content Creator. And I immediately was able to get the website. I was able to get all
That's
of the social media
crazy.
handles. I looked at my husband and I was like, I just struck gold. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm wedding day content creator. That would be like if I was social media manager,
Literally
like
so crazy.
so crazy. So because I did that, got a website up, got a little inquiry form up, connected it all, was like ready to go. As people were hearing about wedding content creation, primarily on
Mhm.
TikTok, I would say, I was the first person that was popping up on all of their searches. I started because I like didn't have any content from any
A
weddings because I
wedding,
hasn't
yeah.
shot any. I used all of the, skill set that I already had for marketing and editing and being on camera and things to market myself. So I just got on and made TikToks and was like, hi, I'm Emily and I'm going to be your wedding day content creator. And
I
here's what you
remember
can expect.
those.
Yeah,
Yes, because I was like, "Oh my god, you hadn't posted any content, but you were already blowing up, like, from a wedding." And I'm like, "She's fucking so smart. So
I just,
smart."
yeah, just fake it until you make it. And so the first wedding I shot was in March of 2023, and it was actually at my dream venue. If I had many, 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 many dollars to put towards my wedding, I would have gotten married at Ohika Castle, which is where Taylor Swift shot her Blank Space music video.
Mhm.
So it's very famous for that. It's gorgeous. And my husband and I had like a Gatsby style wedding. So it would have been the perfect venue. So it just was really cool that the first wedding I ever shot was at Ohika Castle. Um,
Serendipitous.
Serendipitous. It was also like a very high end wedding, and
Mhm.
that is what I specialize in and focus on now. So,
Were you shitting your pants though? Like, oh my God, the first one I would get would be in this castle that's high end and luxury. Like, I mean, knowing you, you probably freaking rocked it, but were you internally like, okay,
oh, definitely. I was so nervous. I was shaking. I woke up so early. I think I got there an hour early because I just was like, this is
didn't want
someone's
to be late.
wedding day, like, oh my God, like they hired me to come to their wedding. Like, this is a really big deal. And I only knew about weddings from my own wedding. So I didn't really
Mm,
know too much. And I just knew to not get in the way of the photographer or the
mhm.
videographer, to make friends with the planner, and to just like keep an eye on my bride the entire day.
We just need to
And
like cut that because that is the exact thing that anyone in weddings should take from this is keep your eye on the bride,
yep,
be best friends with the planner, and don't be in the photographer's way, and you'll be good.
literally that's all I went in, and I was like, and just fake it, they hired you, they want you there, there's something they saw in you. And I just really tried to give myself all of these positive affirmations before going in, because I didn't know what I was entering into. There was no information at the
Yeah.
time on how to do this. It wasn't something I could just take, necessarily a play out of the playbook for a photographer or a videographer, because what we do is so different.
Hmm.
um, so I just went in and tried my best, and you know, it turned out amazing. And actually, the photographer and videographer, they're a husband and wife team. The very first wedding that I worked, um, the husband, who is the videographer, owns the studio that produces the Vendor Table podcast that I was
Okay.
on
Yes.
last year.
I
So
listened to some of that you were on.
yep.
Yeah.
His name is Matt. He's awesome. So like that was the first ever podcast that I did. So it was like really cool and special that he was the one,
Hmm.
producing the entire episode. So anyway,
And now, how many weddings have you done since 2020? You said 2022 or 2023 was your first wedding?
2023 was our first wedding. So we've done over 150 weddings. Yeah, 95 in 2024 alone.
And I was
So,
one of them.
and you were one of them. Oh my
I'm
God,
like
that was the
crying that
best.
it's not my wedding year anymore. The blues are so fucking real. I'm like, can we just go back? Can we
They
go back?
are. Let me tell you, the one thing that helped me get out of my wedding blues was putting my wedding dress back on and having another photo shoot.
Stop it.
Yeah. My husband and I put our wedding clothes back on and had a whole photo shoot in Central Park about maybe like 10 months after we got married. And there's something so beautiful about putting your wedding dress back on in a situation that's not stressful. So
Hmm.
take your time to get ready, take your time and relax and frolic around and pose and just have the best time.
I'm
And
obsessed.
you don't have a whole reception to get to, like it's like a no pressure thing, and you can just take it in and just like really be present and enjoy being in your dress.
Which,
So,
yeah, so smart because my dress was expensive. So I'm like, any excuse to put it
yeah,
back on, please.
go put it back on, like go to, like have like a little dinner or something. Like, you know, there's no rules. That's the great thing. But that was what I found that was like a really nice way to just like kind of close the chapter.
Yeah. You know what's so crazy though is so for those who don't know, because I hired you, well, we did a trade for my Dipsado services in exchange for your content creation, which so sad you weren't actually there, but Pasha, who I adore her, my whole family adores her, and my son is he wants to marry her. They bonded in a special way. She
She's
was
the
at my
best.
wedding, and truly I think that trade, looking back, I'm like, I would have paid, knowing what I paid for my photographer, who was also amazing. I love Daniel so much.
He's the best.
Definitely was a 5-figure investment, but I would pay a lot for content creation because not only what you said, the moments that we got, well, also there was almost 1,000 videos and photos, which was insane, right? But some of the moments that the photographer just isn't going to get because he's not going to be everywhere at once. And somehow Pasha was literally, I'm like, I don't even know how she zipped around. I don't even remember her zipping around. She was literally everywhere. There's content of like people together that would have never been. There's like this super special moment where me and Abby, my maid of honor, who we've been friends since middle school, we're going from the room to get ready down at the hotel in the lobby, and I was going to do my first look with my son, and Josh was, getting ready with the guys. And it was just me and her, and we're walking from the hotel, down the hall, or the room down the hall to the elevator. And we just had this, like, I had this surreal moment because I had just put my dress on. I'm like completely ready. All my family, not my family, but the girls are still getting dressed and ready to come down. And it was just me and her. And I was like, oh my God, like this is, the moment where you're like, oh my God, this is like actually right now it's happening. Like this is going on.
Yeah.
And I was like crying, and my maid of honor, she was like crying, and Pasha got this video of us where I'm like freaking out, like so excited. I'm like, we've been friends since 7th grade, and we're like all excited. And I'm like, I would have never been able to relive like that very short, tiny little moment in the elevator if she wouldn't have been there, Pasha,
Yeah.
because it was so quick and it was so fast. And like, I don't even remember saying the things we said, and my friends looking at me with like adoration. It was just so sweet. And also the fact that you guys turned around the images and the videos in like 24 hours. And so Josh and I are sitting literally on the plane on our way to Florida. And I think y'all had sent it. It was either like right before we got on the plane or maybe even like during, but I had my Wi Fi on. And so during the flight, we literally we're watching all of our stuff, crying like he was too. We're both bawling our eyes out, like drinking champagne. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're in first class, of course, and we're looking at everything. And I'm like, this is actually crazy.
Oh my gosh. That makes me so happy. It's so like it's so true. And you know, I just I'm at a loss of words because I'm just so happy that we were able to do that for you.
Yeah.
And just like the moments that we've been able to deliver to all of our couples. I mean, there's so many crazy moments that we catch, and it's like I didn't know that that was a special moment because,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, like Pasha didn't know the history of you and
Right.
Abby. So she just was rolling because if it's me or if it's any of my associates, like they roll the entire time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling them, if anything's going on, your phone needs to be on, it needs to be recording. I want all of these moments. They want all of
Mm-hmm.
these moments, whether if they're special or not, just like record
Yes.
everything. So it's so special. And this is like the best job in the entire world because we're able to deliver just like your entire wedding day to you, and you
Mm-hmm.
can have it in the palm of your hand whenever you want. You can go back to your wedding
Yes.
day, and
I was
it's
just
just
looking at them
like,
the other day because I made that 2024 recap, and I was like going through some of the videos from the Dropbox, and I was already crying again. But it is crazy because people say, oh, well, what about videography or whatever, which I think super huge value. I didn't have one.
yeah,
I couldn't afford it in the budget, or wasn't, let me rephrase that. It wasn't a priority in our budget to have a videographer. I think if you can afford a photographer and a videographer and a content creator, great. But if you can't afford all three, photographer and a content creator, truly, because
it's perfect.
what is the reality that you're going to sit and watch? Don't get me wrong, a gorgeous 5-minute film horizontally regularly, just probably not all that often. And also, like you said, it's very curated. We talked about this on our call when we were talking about me trading with you. It's like
Yeah,
it's a very selective frame of time and events, and it's not easily like shareable. You're not going to like post a reel. Your grandma's not going to pull it up and watch it for 30 seconds. Whereas
right.
all of the content we got, it's just like the snippets. Yes, you can put them together, and the beautiful like edits you guys made were awesome, and I watch them all the time. But it's just digestible. It's more of our format. It's shareable. Like, you can literally look at all the videos from the day in chronological and find, okay, like let me go to my speeches. All of our speeches are there. The first dances we did with our kids, which was a special moment, like the full dance is there. So I'm like, it's seriously, everyone hire a wedding content creator.
This is the best.
I'm
I
not kidding.
I agree. I agree. Listen, I got married and I absolutely love our video team. Love our photographer. The deliverables are so different though, you
Different.
know? They're
Mhm.
just different deliverables. Your photographer is going to take these insanely beautiful photos
Mhm.
that you are going to look like a movie star in,
Mhm.
and you're going to have them forever, and you're going to proudly display them on your wall, and for generations to come, they're going to see these beautiful photos, and that's great. That's the deliverable that serves its purpose. If you get a videographer, you're going to get this insanely beautiful film where you look like a movie star, you're starring in the
Mhm.
best day of your life, and it comes together so beautifully. But I'll be honest, I don't know the last time we watched our wedding film, which is so
Mm.
sad. And my videographer and I are really good friends. We actually had competing YouTube channels in middle school. So
Ooh.
like I got to hire one of my really, really good friends. And they do some weddings, and it just was like it was a really cool experience to work with him. But at the end of the day, I asked him, is it okay if I get the raw footage
Mhm.
as well? And he was like, absolutely no problem. Because now I'm a wedding content creator, I'm like, how
Mhm.
hard could it be to go through my own wedding footage and, actually dig through it and pull all these moments? Because they did capture some fun, like BTS style moments too. And I'm going through it. And what I didn't realize is one, they didn't shoot the audio all of the time. So there's a lot of
Mm.
clips without audio. And two, because the deliverable is this beautiful cinematic style film,
Right.
they were shooting in this beautiful slow mo cinematic
Mhm.
vibe. So
Mhm.
I don't have like what I like to call real moments. They all look really, they look too
Cinematic.
professional.
Yeah.
They look
Yeah.
cinematic. I don't want to, I want to see how I really looked. And we're so used to seeing ourselves on our iPhones that that's how I really looked. So, I was able to pull some clips and like make some things, but at the end of the day, like I like being able to open my phone and like
Mhm.
go through and see different things. And that's what our couples hire us for. They want to see their entire wedding day in the palm of their hand whenever they want. Like as a bride, I didn't even know this until the day started, and I'm sure you might have felt a similar way, but I quickly realized, like, as I was getting my makeup done, that the day is going to fly by. And I wish I could bottle up each moment and remember it,
Mhm.
because it just, you're doing this, and then you're doing this, and then you're doing this because you're on a schedule. You don't have time to process what's going on.
Yeah.
So you spend the day almost in like a blackout.
Mhm.
And
And then you get blacked out.
and then
Just
you get
kidding.
blacked out.
I did
And
not black out on
then
my wedding, guys. Don't
I didn't
worry.
either. I didn't either. But
There were bets though that went around. They're like, Taylor's blacking out. I'm like, fuck all you guys, okay? I'm not gonna black out on the most important day ever. I'm just gonna get sloshed, but I'm gonna remember all of it.
I'm gonna remember it. I'm not gonna go too far, but it just was like it's crazy. And I even talked with one of my friends who just recently got married, and she got married in Jamaica, and she's like, I don't want to have to bring a content creator out there, blah blah blah. So I was like, I didn't push it on her. I was like, okay. And her and I go to lunch like 2 weeks ago, and she goes, I should have hired you. Like it's the
Oh.
number one regret of my wedding, because she's like, no one told me that I was going to not remember the majority of the day.
Mhm.
And I was like,
And that's the thing, right? Is like a lot of the videos that I have from mine that you guys took, I'm like, I don't even remember like that little moment. You know what I mean? Or it wasn't as significant. I mean, I'm sure it was significant in the moment, but like you said, you're just, you're kind of doing this and then you're doing this, and there's like a lot of emotions and people, and
yeah,
everyone's looking at you. You're the bride, they're talking to you. And then you look back and you're like, oh my God, that was so special. Or like that moment was so beautiful. Or the moments where you weren't even there. Like when we were taking our bride and groom portraits, during cocktail hour, there's all these great videos of like, our family talking to each other and like having a drink. And I'm like, I didn't even get to see any of that because I wasn't even there.
right. Because you weren't even there. It's
Yeah.
crazy, crazy, crazy. So I like the one clip that I was able to find where I do have some audio and I put it together, I put it on my Instagram, but I don't remember
Oh.
my husband and I's first look at all. So when I found this clip, I was like laughing so hard. I was crying. I was laughing and crying at the same time because it just was the best. But he literally turns around and I'm so awkward. I didn't know what to say. And I just go, I'm your wife.
cute.
And I'm like, oh my, I was dying because like I didn't know that that moment existed. It's not something that
Yep.
made it into our wedding film, but it's, you
Mhm.
know, some BTS that I have, thank God for my videographer who gave me the raw clips, which typically they don't do, or you
Mm-mm.
have to pay a lot of extra money for that. They just gave them to me because we're friends, which is so nice. Um, but yeah, it's like moments like those. Like I didn't remember that at all. I don't remember doing that. I just, you know, remember my husband crying a little bit, but that's all I remember from our first look.
Oh
And
my
obviously we
God.
have much more went into it than just him crying a little bit, like,
Yeah.
you know. So, and that's what that was one of the things that happened was I was like, I'm your wife.
That is the cutest thing ever.
That was really funny.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that I even had to go to New York for my dress and we met because you convinced me in a very non-convincing, I mean, convincing, but you weren't like, oh, you have to do this. But you were like, no, really, like, this is something you should think about. And I'm like, okay. And Josh was kind of like, what is it? And then he loved Pasha. Everyone loved Pasha, first of all. But then once we saw everything, we're like, oh my God, I would pay thousands and thousands of dollars for that. And probably more than you charge. I think people could pay because of
I
what you
just
capture.
I just raised my prices, so fingers crossed
Heck
that
yes, girl.
that that happens, but I'm, you know, like there is people are really truly seeing the value in it and it just takes a little bit. It's a newer thing. But it's a lot of work. So, you know, I'm hoping that everybody in, you know, that's a wedding content creator, if you're listening to this, raise your prices. If
Mm-hmm.
everybody raises them, you know, it'll become like the new industry standard. And one, like, I don't I don't know about other wedding content creators, but a lot of wedding content creators that I know, we are like the last vendor standing, you know, all
For
day,
real.
all night, like
First ones.
literally first one's there, last one's out. It's like crazy. I have a package where people can hire me for like 17 hours of the day if they want to. And I've done it before. I did a wedding one time where I was there at like 7 o'clock in the morning or something like that and didn't leave until 2 a.m. Like
That's
wild,
insane.
wild, wild, wild. So, but it's because everybody wants the moments. They want it uninterrupted. They want to see the whole day. And I will give that to you because I think it's super important to have. So,
I think it's really crazy that you didn't have a background in weddings before because not crazy, but I think people are
I think
intimidated.
it's crazy. I think it's wild that I just jumped into an
Yes,
industry without a lot of knowledge and was
that is a
like,
little crazy. Yeah.
let's do it. Okay, I'm going to show up to like this crazy high end wedding at my favorite venue ever and just do the damn thing.
Well, and also because for those who aren't in the wedding industry, like I have business owners of all different types that listen to this podcast, and weddings are kind of cutthroat. Like the wedding industry is, especially in your specific realm of like luxury, very East Coast, like it's super cutthroat. And usually people like ride with the vendors that they know and they trust and they've worked with before, and everyone else is kind of like, Psh, we don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that you started not only in the industry without any previous knowledge, and then also in a literal thing that has never really been done by a whole lot of people, and you started it in the luxury space, it's kind of just crazy that it's been so successful. But of course, you would be doing that because you are a very creative, determined person. So, no doubt that that would work out for you. What would be like your tip for people who are listening who maybe are like, oh my God, like I do digital stuff, I'm creative, or I have a marketing business or something, I could do that? What would be the tip or some tips that you would give them to dip their toes or jump full in without that fear of like being the new person in an industry that they've never been in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, anybody can definitely do this. Like, it is a very fun, I wouldn't say it's super easy. I find it easy because I really love it. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something I'm really, really passionate about. And I would do this for free. Like, that is how much I love it. I just, there's just something about getting to spend the best day of someone's life with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's truly the most beautiful job in the entire world. Um, so, but if someone is looking to kind of jump in and start this, I would say do your research in the area. I would figure out if you could see yourself working in, if you want to work in the high end wedding industry, who are the high end planners in your area?
Mhm.
Start making friends with them. A lot of my business comes from my vendor friends that
Mhm.
are planners, that are florists, that are photographers, that are videographers, um, because those are your coworkers for the day. And people want to
Right.
work with people that they know, that they love, that they trust. Every time I show up to work, if it's not with people that I know, I don't know how the day is going to go. You've got to kind of establish how things are going to be and the flow,
Yeah.
and so do your research, figure out what kind of part of the industry that you can be in based off of the area that you're in, or if you want to jump into it, just see what's out there. Two, you definitely need a social media presence.
Mhm.
And I'm sure as more and more wedding content creators are popping up, we're losing some form of being able to use that in your handle. But just for SEO, it is so important to have some sort of wedding content creator, wedding day content creator in your username, in your social media
Mhm.
handles, just so people can find you. Um,
Well, and I bet a lot of cities, I mean, the big cities probably have it, but if you live in somewhere a little bit more, not like New York or Houston, Dallas, something like that, I'm sure you even find like city handle, like Houston wedding content creator or something like that, where it can be
yeah,
local or, based on geographic versus just content creator.
Yeah, because that's just going to give you naturally like a step up in the game when people are, looking on TikTok or Instagram or just Googling it, you're going to pop up. And that's another thing. If you know that you're fully going to go into this, get a website as well. A lot of wedding content creators I know do not have a website. They just have
Mhm.
like a honeybook or something, and you need a website. You
Mhm.
are a professional, like establish yourself. Not saying that like having a honeybook isn't professional, but just in terms of like having a landing space where your business lives, where Google can see it, where you can start a blog so you can have, more SEO,
Mhm.
compiling, so you can have a place to host all of your work. Because, like what we're seeing right now, there might be a TikTok ban. Your website's not
How
going to
do you
get
feel
shut
about that?
down. Oh
That's
my
another
God.
question.
I don't want to talk about it. I am so just like, it better not happen. I'm going to be
Mhm.
so mad if
You've
it
worked
does.
hard for your TikTok presence, I feel like.
I
I'm not on
try.
TikTok, so I'm speaking just from, I don't know.
I love it. I think it's the best thing ever. I just feel, and I know this because I've tested the theory a couple times. TikTok, you can speak very freely on TikTok
Mm,
and say what you want to say, and it's not really going to filter out too much.
mhm,
Instagram filters you out and takes your content down.
mhm.
For example, quick example, I don't know if you saw this, but there's like a guy punching girls in the face randomly in New York,
I
like
did see
last year.
that shit.
Okay, so I made a joke and I had my content tripod with me because in New York, like you can't have like a bunch of like personal safety things. You can't just like pepper spray someone on the subway, because like it'll spread.
Mm,
So you can't just like have a gun. You just can't have all of these, like different. I mean, the gun's a little extreme, but you can't just, like in the normal world, just
mhm.
have all of these safety things. So I'm carrying around my content tripod and I'm like, if anybody tries to punch me in the face, I will hit them with my content tripod. And I put the same thing on TikTok that I put on Instagram.
Mhm.
And Instagram was like, this is violence
Offensive.
and offensive. Yes. And we're taking it down. And I'm just like, okay, oh my God. All right. I'm just trying to share information that could be helpful.
Tripods are a weapon. Thank you.
Yes, content tripods are a weapon. Okay, you can get them on Amazon for $30. Why not?
That's so funny because one of my rapid fire questions for you was, what is one of your favorite tools that you've purchased that's not like an app or something? Would you say it's your content tripod?
I love that thing. It has so many different uses. if
That's
you
so funny.
if you gotta, like use it for self-defense on the subway, then like that's what you gotta do.
My goodness. What about tips for like people who are entering into content creation and how to navigate like vendor relationships? Because I've heard some like things online where people are very against content creators, especially if they're in the photo video space, which is sad because there can be all ways for people to work together at a wedding. And obviously, it
Absolutely.
does come down to the people who are doing the job, right? If you guys can get along. Like, even at my wedding, I don't even remember my vendors being around because that's how like tunnel vision I was, but also that they did their job really well because they captured everything and they weren't like, all in the way. So, how
Yeah.
do you navigate, or have you had any scenarios where people were not excited vendor wise that there was a content creator there?
So, yes, I have. To answer your first question, though, about tips, always try to over communicate. It's better to
Mm.
always over communicate. Two, you cannot change people's minds. I am not there, regardless about how people feel about content creation, I'm not there to change their mind. I'm there to do my job and to do it
You were
well.
hired by the client. The client is the
Yes,
couple, not the freaking planner or the vendor or the whoever.
exactly. And I've dealt with a lot of different stuff just throughout this time, just being like one of the first people to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen a bunch of crazy stuff, but just always, 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 always over communicate. Have a great contract. If you don't have a contract, I sell mine, just like shameless plug.
Hey, I'll put that link in the description.
I also do coaching and consulting too. So if you want to become a wedding
Yes.
content creator, might as well just plug that now too. I got it all. I
Yes.
got the contract. I'll tell you how to do everything. But yeah, no one is going to worry about you if you have over communicated, if your contract is really tight, and if you show up looking like the best dressed vendor there. I don't care what
Mm.
type of wedding it is. I don't care if it's a backyard wedding in a small town. I am showing up looking like the best dressed vendor. I want people to think that I own the place. And
Mm.
then when the look on their face is, oh, you're not the planner. Oh, you're not the, coordinator for the vet. You're not. And no, I'm the content creator.
Mm-hmm.
The one that thinks, that you think isn't professional and is going to do all these crazy things and not be good enough to be here. Yeah. Hi, that's me. Nice
I
to meet
love
you.
that. And that's all about confidence. That's so important, I
Mhm.
think, with any like in-person career is like your confidence is everything.
It is. And it is expressed for me in the way that I present myself. It makes me feel really good. It's like
Mm-hmm.
putting on a superhero cape.
Yes.
I had to go into so many situations where I didn't know if I was going to have a great 12 hours at work or a really, really awful 12 hours at work. And I looked great. And because I looked great, I felt great and I could handle the day and know your equipment, know your stuff, and don't worry about what the other people are saying. So now let's get into, having some vendors say some not nice things. The amount of times I've walked into a wedding and the photographer has told me, I'm sure you've worked weddings before, but this is how it's going to run. And I don't like to work with content creators. So, and I'm like, could you imagine if I walked into a room and the first thing I said to someone was, hi, don't try this, this, or this, and don't get in my way, and blah, blah, blah. That is so rude. And that is not how anybody should act professionally. So I don't know what it is that these content creators have brought out in some wedding professionals. It's crazy.
I feel like, and I can say this because I am a photographer and was one, and this, let me just go on record. My photographer, wedding photographer, was not this way at all. Love Daniel so
No,
much.
he's the
But
best.
photographers have like, they're on a fucking high horse sometimes. I'm like, this is not your wedding. And I think it's because traditionally, not all weddings, and obviously it depends on what, kind of like sector of weddings, like luxury or not, but photographers are one of the bigger expenses. And so I think in their mind, they're like, "Ugh, well, I'm the fucking vendor of the day." And it's like, it's not about you. There's 7 other vendors, 20 other vendors who are all playing a part in this wedding. And at the end of the day, it's the client's day, not yours. And so, I don't know what that is. I've heard so many stories of like photographers, even with videographers, where they just, they like butt heads about who's doing this and who's that and get out of the way. And it's like, that is wild to me. It's
It's
wild.
wild. It's annoying. The client can feel that energy, that client can pick it up. And no one needs that on their wedding day. No one
Mm-mm.
needs it. You have to trust that your client did their due diligence and
Mm-hmm.
hired someone who is going to do a good job. And if they didn't, it's okay.
Mhm.
If something happens, if, you know, if a content creator steps in your way by accident, shoot around them. Do you
Mhm.
know how many times I mean, I'm background, so this is a given. Photographers, videographers, people are stepping in my shot all the time. You know what I do?
Move.
I move. I
Yeah.
move. It's actually really easy. And I understand that there is a hierarchy of like, okay, photographer, videographer, me. Like, I get it. I understand and I respect it. But like, you can just move. You can
Mhm.
just move and you don't need to make it that big of a deal. And you don't need to be mean to people and you don't need to bully them. It's
Mhm.
just like, it is beyond. The worst experience I've ever had was my fourth wedding. And I had the not so great pleasure of working with this photographer who basically belittled me all day.
Mm.
He told me that, well, content creators are just going to get absorbed into photography packages and it'll be like, how the DJ can sometimes bring the photo booth too. Like, he was just like saying that, he just really was starting his own wedding content creation company, which was really funny to me because of
Are you for real?
oh, I'm not kidding. He tagged himself as the content creator of the day. Because he was like, well, we're all technically content creators. And I'm like,
So I'm a photographer
yes,
then. Mhm.
right.
Yeah?
And I'm just like, why are you even having this conversation with me? It's so wildly inappropriate and so not professional. And then, so whatever, like, it was a bad day, but I'm there for the couple. I gave them great content. I left, whatever.
You did your part.
I did my part. This photographer went on to scam couples out of money because he decided to update his terms and conditions for a little while and said he would refuse to work with content creators. And it was either his retainer or the couple or the content creator's retainer that the couple would lose. Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't tell them, I'm sure, until they've already like hired
Mm-hmm.
or until they show up.
Yep. So when I heard that through the grapevine, because all of us content creators are friends and we talk, it's like a very accepting place to be a wedding content creator. We all love each other. So we all tell each other things.
Mhm.
And so this is some drama that happened with another content creator and this photographer. And so for that very reason, I put on my website, you have to tell me who your photographer and who your videographer are, because
Mhm.
this guy and this other videographer, they would team up together and they would do this to couples.
And bully the couple and the content creator, the vendor.
Yep. So then when I would get their names through, I would do the couple a solid and be like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, these two only work with their own content creator company. They won't work with outside content creators. So I'm more than happy to work with them, but you need to talk to them about this, because if they haven't been upfront, like, I don't want you reaching out to other content creators and hiring someone, God forbid, and
Mhm.
losing your retainer with them.
It's
So
nuts.
super nuts. Again, making it about themselves and not about the couple,
Mhm.
not about their day. It's crazy to me, but
I think that is a good tip for any wedding vendor because I do have a lot of clients I work with in the wedding industry of all different types, like florists and planners and photographers. It's like you will be successful if you do your job really well and you make it about the couple because it's
mhm,
not your wedding, even though you may be paid $50,000 to put that wedding on and you feel like that's your baby, especially planners. Like that's your, that's your baby. You
yeah,
did that. But at the end of the day,
yeah,
it's not your day and you were hired
right.
for that, just like any other job where you were hired to do something. And I think, yeah, it's a cutthroat industry, but I think you've been so successful because of not only your confidence, but that approach of like, yeah, I'm going to be here and I'll move out of your way. But at the end of the day, like the couple's going to remember me because it's about them.
It's about them. Kindness always wins. That's also something, I've been in situations like that where I've wanted to just obviously tell them to F off, and I wanted to go cry in the bathroom and leave, and I couldn't. And
Hmm.
I just was like, oh, yeah, very interesting perspective, like,
Hmm.
okay, well, hopefully you'll be hiring soon because I guess I'm going to need a job. So,
Do you ever have you ever had like guests be weird about it? Because you're walking around with your iPhone? Like, I wonder if people are like, "Who is that? And why are they recording on a phone?"
Oh, definitely. The looks I get. I mean, still to this day, people are like, who is that girl on iPhone? Like, what is that?
Especially because you're dressed up, so they're like, "Is she a guest? Is she a what?"
They don't know. That's what's so funny. And I love keep them guessing. Like
Uh-huh.
I'll of course go over and introduce myself if they look like they're really struggling about like what's going on. And I'm like, oh, I'm just Emily. I'm the content creator. I'm on iPhone duty today, you know, and I always introduce myself obviously to like the wedding party and, you know, like immediate
The
family and
family,
friends and
yeah.
things like that. But it's, yeah, the wedding guests are kind of like, what? But two shots in, let me tell you, they love my iPhone.
Oh, I'm
They
sure. They're like all of a sudden they're on their way to being TikTok famous. They're like, "Let's fucking go."
That's right. I have had guests drink way too much and then come over to me and tell me that I should follow them around because they are going to be TikTok famous. And it's just it's the best. And
I'm
then they
dead.
proceed to do the craziest things and it is just like it's gold. It's content gold, which is what I come for, you know?
Speaking of craziest things, I know we're kind of over, so we'll probably have to split this episode in two, which isn't a bad idea. But what is like one of the craziest things you've seen at a wedding happen? It could either be funny or like, what the fuck, or like something so bougie that you're like, how is this even? Because you go to some bougie weddings. So,
I go to some bougie weddings. Okay, so second wedding that I did at Ohika Castle was in July of 2023. And this was the craziest, funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't know whether to panic or that the bride was okay with this. But like imagine having like a really, really nice luxury wedding, okay?
mhm.
And at the end of the night, your uncle gets
Oh
on
God.
stage with the band
Oh God.
and starts stripping to the song Macho, Macho Man. I'm gonna be a macho man.
Was he macho?
No, he was her old uncle, which made it even more funny. Okay, so backtrack. All of a sudden, I'm like on the dance floor, like they're wrapping up the wedding or the reception. And all of a sudden, I hear everybody start screaming and they run to the stage where the band is. And I whip my head around, and the uncle is full on taking his shirt off, starting to
Oh.
like take his pants off. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh no.
The bride loving it, front and center, cheering him on. The groom and all of the groom's brothers are like, yeah, yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I think I should film this.
Like, this is
Yes,
good.
definitely. And I'm like filming and I'm filming the reaction and I'm filming the uncle and he's like pretending to like take his pants down, but like not, but like, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, what? And the photographer and videographer and I are like cracking up and all of us are like, I can't believe we just caught this on camera. It is amazing and so good. And um it
That
was
is awesome.
it was very wild. It was very wild. And then I have another one that was a little bit more recent, and I can't say the name of the person.
Off air.
I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
There's like this legendary, famous rapper who was at this wedding that I shot in the Hamptons. And he has some like famous dance moves that he does. And he was a guest. And I figured at some point in the night he was probably going to do his famous song and his famous dance
Did
moves.
you have to do an NDA?
I didn't, but the couple did ask me that I don't share,
Got it.
and I love them and we're besties. So,
Got it.
but yeah, so I'm on the dance floor. There's like, I don't know, maybe like 400 people on this dance floor, and I'm watching this guy, and
Oh
I'm like,
my
I
God.
think he's going to do his thing. Like, I'm not, maybe, I don't know. All of a sudden, he starts performing directly to my iPhone.
Oh, yes.
The
You're
whole,
like, give it to me.
and I'm like, yep. And the photographer, you could see them, they're behind him. So they're
Mm-hmm.
getting, and I'm getting the shot. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. That was really cool. That
That
was
is
one
cool.
where I like immediately called my mom and was like, you're never going to believe what my life is. Like, this
I
is
love that.
what?
It sounds so fun. It sounds like a really good time. I would never be a content creator because the thought of being at a wedding and working for 12 hours makes me want to vomit.
It's a long day. It's a very long day, but I like it for like my anxiety. I like knowing that we're going to do this and then we're going to do this and then we're going to do
Hmm.
this and then we're going to do this. And for me, it almost like helps the day go by a lot faster. So I usually like will look down at my phone and 4 hours have passed and it feels like 30
Yeah.
minutes have passed. So it's a long day. It's hard on your body, but it does kind of fly for me at
Do you
least.
have to bring a bunch of chargers? That's so random. I just thought about that.
Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
bring so many chargers. I have so many backup battery packs. And like, this is another tip too, if anybody's listening who wants to be a wedding content creator, is you have to buy backup battery packs that can charge your phone while you're shooting
While you're using it. Mm.
because a lot of them don't do that. So you
Mm.
just will be draining battery still as you're charging it. And get multiple iPhones because you
I was
can.
going to ask you that. Do you have like a phone just for
I have
content creation?
I have three.
Heck yes. Three phones. Okay, Kevin
Three
Gates.
phones. Yep, that's how I got to do it.
That is so funny. I wonder if content creation is going to become a thing for like corporate.
I think so. I did get extended an opportunity for corporate earlier this year. I did like this Philips Norelco event
Okay.
with what's the guy's name? Hold on, I have to Google this. I am yes, no. Okay, wait a minute.
No, I'm curious.
Okay, I'll have to get back to you on that because I it's not Adam Driver. Who is the guy?
Oh my God, I stop. If
It
it's,
wasn't him.
oh my God, okay.
It was a different Adam. I think his name is something else. Um, but it was really cool.
That
So
is cool.
corporate event, they loved it. You couldn't put any like TikTok sounds to it. You had to put like
Hmm.
boring corporate music. So that's the only
Yeah.
difference.
And
But
I'm sure they're not like, yeah, go post this on your Instagram account.
no, they were like, actually, could you not do that? And then this is only going to be for internal. Like they just wanted like a cute
Right.
little recap of the event, but like
I see.
paid me my normal rate and everything. And I'm like, this is never going to see the light of day. And do you want to pay for this? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like,
That's cool though.
fantastic. This is
That
great.
just shows like the how documenting moments has like changed over time from photos to then like this traditional video to then obviously the culture we're in with short form video and like real looking video where you're like, oh yeah, that's a real life because it's shot and it doesn't look edited and all cinematic and nostalgic and all these things. It's like that's just how the moment happened in real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. It's so cool. I love just like all things content. And I think everybody needs a content creator. Like, I feel like even for more like events too, like birthday parties or just
Hmm.
like little get togethers, maybe like dinner parties that you have with your friends. Like, when Garrick and I had our going away party, I was like this close to hiring a content creator. It was just like a little dinner with like
Yeah.
seven of our friends, but I was like, we should have someone here because people will probably make speeches and I'm not going to be thinking to take photos because I want to just be in the moment.
Hmm.
I should have someone whose sole job is to just take iPhone photos and videos the entire time. So I think it's
Yes.
just going to go beyond weddings, beyond corporate, and just be ingrained in our everyday lives.
Yeah. One last little story, and then I'll have a couple of rapid fire questions and we'll wrap up. I at our wedding, we had three speeches. My maid of honor, Josh's cousin, who's like his sister, and then Josh's mom. And at the end of all the speeches, and they were all fucking good. Like everyone in tears the whole time. Beautiful speeches, powerhouse women. They were all blonde too. We're like, this is perfect. Josh's mom wraps it up, and hers was just amazing. Everyone's crying. And then all of a sudden, God bless her, our Aunt Laura, who's Josh's aunt, she's an older woman, like in her 60s, and she's blasted at this point. And she gets up and she's like, I have something to say. And we're like, oh, fuck. And looking back, Pasha, she got it. And I think I remember her saying, like, I didn't know she was going to do a speech. Like, I'm so glad I like was rolling and like going. And I'm like, she wasn't supposed to do a speech. And she came up and like, it was completely improvised. She was definitely feeling good. And at first you could literally see me and Josh's eyes in the video. We're like doing the whole, like looking at each other because we didn't know if it was going to get bad where we needed someone to come up and like, okay, you're done. And it started
Yeah.
to get a little derailed. She's talking about like childhood and all this. And you can see me and Josh and I'm like whisper something in his ear. And then she gently wraps it up and she like says something good at the end and we're all like, oh, thank God.
That is so funny. That happens at more weddings than you would think.
Where
And
people just come up and get the mic and you're like, what the fuck?
sometimes it just happens. Sometimes a group of people will do it, you know, and I, like I obviously like trained Pasha to it's the moments where someone is done doing something like a
Mm-hmm.
speech or, like when you're taking pictures with like a group of family members or friends or whatever, and the photographer's like, okay, done. Keep the
Then there's
camera
something.
rolling because there's always people look at each other and go, oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. And like the
Mm-hmm.
funniest moments happen during that time or even after the speeches. Keep the camera rolling because
Yeah.
people do go up and grab the mic.
That
And
is
you
so
you
funny.
want to like you want to capture all of that. So until the band or the DJ or whoever takes that mic back and it is like,
Mm-hmm.
then you can cut. But yeah,
That is so funny.
I'm glad I gave her that advice and she took it
I
because
know, because
that's
it's a great it was hilarious watching it over again. We're like, okay. I don't even think she remembers doing that, but
that is so funny. Oh my god. I love that
so
so
let's do
much.
a few rapid fire and then I will let you go in this beautiful long episode. Okay, so we have to do this one. One wedding trend you love and one that you hope crawls into a hole and dies. And you can say that because I'm sure not all your couples will listen to this. So if, one of your couples did this, it's okay.
I am just like so obsessed with people not having a wedding party. Like I think
Mhm.
it is I don't know if it's a trend. I hope it's here to stay just because I feel like and there's a lot of pressure on your friends and we might have to do this in another episode because I do have to talk about my bachelorette party, which was like so
Yes.
epic and so crazy.
We need to do like a
Um,
wedding planning like
yes,
episode just on bridal shit.
just
Because
on
between
bridal
the both
shit.
of us, I think it'd be
We could go
fire.
on and on. Okay, let's put that on the calendar. I just, it puts so much pressure on your friends and they've got enough stuff going on in their lives. So it's nice to just like have your friends just show up in the way that they can for your day.
And
And
the
I feel like,
couple. Cause then you're
yeah,
like, oh, I gotta like pick these people
mhm,
and for us, like we don't have a lot of like close friends. So we're like, then we gotta be even and then and it's like it's kind
yeah,
of just
it's like a whole thing. And, the whole part of your day should just feel really honest and genuine
hmm
to you guys as a couple. And if it doesn't feel that way, then like don't do it. So
right.
it just makes the whole day a lot smoother. So I
hmm
love that trend that people are not doing like a whole bunch of wedding parties anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is just like something that's happening, but something I could live without is like I feel like it's been kind of a trend to like not thank people. And I don't
Mm,
know what is going on with that, but I am a part of a bunch of different Facebook groups. And that is one thing that a lot of like 2024 brides complained about was going to weddings and not getting a written thank you card,
I didn't
not
do that. I need to do that. Oh my God.
I
I'm
didn't
so
I
sorry.
didn't do it for
Me
no.
just dying in my seat because I kept thinking about it. And I'm like, I really should. I didn't even, yeah. Oh my God. You're calling me out.
I didn't send thank yous to my guests for probably 6 months after I got married, but I thanked them still at some point during the year. Thank your
Okay.
guests. It's important and you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it. I went on Amazon and I ordered this batch of thank you cards that were so cute. They just had like a little heart,
hmm
and that was that.
And you
And
sent one to every guest and every vendor?
I don't know if I sent one to every vendor. I think my vendors probably got like a text or a phone call from
Okay.
me. Definitely text or phone call because like I basically was friends with all of my vendors.
hmm
But my guests got like the handwritten thank yous, and some of them complained like a week after the wedding they didn't get it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get there. Let me just get situated and moved, and like life is happening. So,
hmm
but yeah, Sorry, I didn't mean
Okay,
to call
adding
you
that
out.
to my January to-do list.
Listen, you're busy. You got other fish to fry. But at some point, you know, it's going to be a
Yeah.
really nice surprise. Why don't you actually do it for your 1 year anniversary?
Oh, yeah. We had a small wedding, so I could probably even print one 4x6 photo of each
Yeah.
guest because we only had like 50 people there, 40 people.
Yeah.
You know, like a photo, either it's with us with them or like them with like that'd be so cute. Put it in
It
the
would be
card and
so cute.
okay,
You
I'm
could
doing
totally
it.
do it. It's like
And I
fun.
did get a photo printer for my birthday, so that was cool.
Print it out, girl. Do it.
Okay.
That's so exciting. Wait, I need to know
That
about this photo printer.
Yeah, I got I haven't opened it yet.
What?
But I'll let you know how it goes. I'll use it on the cards the first thing I do.
No time like the present.
Okay, so what is the biggest thing you've splurged on in your wedding content creator business?
The biggest thing I have splurged on, let's see.
Investment even.
Investment wise, I would say probably an equal balance between my phones and my
Mhm.
wardrobe.
Mm. Mhm.
So,
It's funny because I work with so many luxury vendors, and obviously Daniel and I are very close, and he's like really in the luxury space. And he talks about how crazy it is with your attire, like how much vendors judge about it, how important it is. And he goes to a lot of those like vendor destination retreats and like conferences. Like he's been to them in Italy, and he's like, there is literally an attire and a dress code for every event, and you can't be seen twice wearing the same thing. And I didn't even think about that as like an investment of like
yeah.
in your shoes, I'm sure, wanting to wear comfortable shoes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and you have to wear, like, depending on where you're working, you have to be in nice shoes. Like, there's a lot of times where, like, I can't wear a sneaker at all.
Yeah.
Like, I got to figure out a really comfortable ballet flat, loafer,
Mm,
heel,
some little Prada
depending,
loafers.
a little Prada loafer moment,
Hmm.
and it just is what it is, you've got to, I've learned throughout this process, like with the clients that I work with, I like to be in the know of like all of the luxury things. And so, it's like walk it like you talk it,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So,
Hell yeah.
and if you can't afford to do it, then get really good at styling yourself. There's beautiful loafers on Amazon from
Dupes,
Dr.
baby.
Scholl's. There's dupes. There's, you know, literally fake it till you make it.
You are really well dressed. I will just every time like, oh my God,
So are
Emily looks so
you.
fucking good.
So are you.
Yeah.
I would like love to raid your closet and just like,
Same. Same.
well, I'm going to come visit you and you come visit me and we'll dress up in each other's
Well, I'm
clothes and go
coming
out.
with you to Bridal Fashion Week this year. I will make it happen. I don't know how I'm going to
Perfect.
make it happen, but if you're doing it like you did last year where you guys went and you stayed and took the limo, I want to go, and we can convince Daniel to come because he already went anyways, but
Perfect.
yeah,
We're going.
we're going. When
We're
is it?
going.
November or
So in the spring,
oh, it's in the spring.
it's in the spring and the fall.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like, "Oh my God, that's coming up soon."
So first week of April, I believe like it's might start on like April 2nd. So if you're ready and you want to go, let me know because we're
I want to go.
starting to kind of build out all of our
I
plans.
want to go.
Okay. That's it. You're coming.
It's actually easier to go in April because at the end of the year, it's like holidays with the kids, and all of our birthdays are like October, November, December, whatever. So April, other than my anniversary, I'll be like, babe, for my anniversary, I want to go to Bridal Fashion Week.
Yeah, goodbye. See ya. Well, at least you have a couple weeks until your anniversary, so you could space it out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
we just like we just have the best time. It's like the best girl time. It's we've got such a great group and like you're gonna love them. Jesse and Lisette are both wedding content creators. I'm a wedding content creator. Then we had Kennedy Nicole Films, who is a videographer. She's really talented. Emma K Photography. She's a photographer. She's really talented. And Issa Marie Creative. She's a photographer. She's really talented. So we just were like taking content and photos and videos of each other and experiencing all of these incredible designs. And it is the best. It's very long. It's like a lot of
Hmm.
hours and a lot of go, 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 go. but it
For
is
me,
quite
it's
literally
networking. I
tech.
mean, because y'all are all my ideal clients. So I'm like, I could just write the
Yeah,
trip off as a networking event.
as you should. It's
Yeah.
going to be amazing. And now, since I don't live in New York City, we could get like a hotel. We could make it a whole thing.
Oh
It
my
could just be
God.
like the best.
I'm
So
down. I'm so down.
let's do it.
Okay, last question. This is a good one because I feel like 2024, and I partook in this, was the trend of drinks, like towers and signature cocktails. What's like the most creative signature drink, tower, whatever that you saw?
Oh my gosh. So I have never seen a champagne tower done the way that I saw at this wedding that I had in early November. Um, it was like the biggest champagne tower, and the couple was like so cute and so fun. And they were just opening the bottles and they were just like
Oh my
putting them
God.
in. And I mean, this thing was massive. It definitely it had to have had like more than 100 glasses stacked up. Like it was really
Oh
big.
my God.
Yeah.
How many bottles did they have to pour?
So I want to say, I mean, probably a lot because like
I know.
six six glasses is like a bottle, right? So
Jesus.
that's a
I'm
lot.
sure they didn't pour all of it. They probably poured like a couple
No,
and then
I think
yeah,
I think the staff had probably filled up the majority of it, and then it was like the first
they
top
towered it on.
layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just, but yeah, it was like the best, most epic champagne tower. If you scroll on my Instagram, I don't think it's like too far down. Hold on. Actually, let me just bring it up so I can get your reaction while we're on because
Yeah.
you're gonna die. Yeah, so it's this one right here.
I saw that on your Instagram. Yep.
Yeah,
That
it's
thing is
huge.
fucking huge. I'd be
It's
so scared that I
huge.
would just tink knock that over.
I know. And it was like set up on a bar with like some cakes and some desserts and stuff. And guests were like walking by
Cute.
it. And I was like, oh my God, if one person knocks this, like it's gonna, oh my God. It would be, but no one did. And it was perfect and everything was amazing. And the couple was so sweet. And like it just was the best. But
I love it. Oh my
yeah,
God.
it was
What
so
a
much
good
fun.
episode. We just almost talked for 2 hours, technically two, because we started before we started recording.
It's just so easy. When you get us chatting, like we just don't stop. So
I know.
but
Oh
thank
my
you
gosh.
so much for opening this like beautiful space for me to come on and
Yeah.
talk your ear off.
I love it. I love
I
it.
love it. This is the best. So
Yeah,
thank
we
you so
definitely
much.
need to do what we should do. Oh my God. I have it. When
Okay,
we go to New York, we should do a live, like an actual podcast in the hotel room, and I can just pack,
let's do
like
it.
my laptop and two mics, and then we can do like a whole wedding, like pod episode because we'll be in Fashion Week and it'll be,
Yes.
in person, and that's
Yes.
perfect. I love that.
Yes. We're doing that. It's been decided.
Yes. You got to send me all the details. You're the best. I'm
I
so
will.
glad that we've stayed connected over the years and more so in the past couple years. And I hope
Me
everyone
too.
hires a wedding day content creator or the wedding day content creator.
Thank you. Me too. I think everybody needs some sort of content creation on their wedding day. It's definitely not something you're going to regret. So,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
can't have too many memories captured.
No. Well, is there anything else you want to drop or share? And real quick, maybe plug again so people hear you do coaching for other content creators. I'll have all the links, but
Yes.
anything you want to plug
Yes.
up?
So you can find me. All of my social media handles are at Wedding Day Content Creator. My website is weddingdaycontentcreator.com. On my website, that is where you will find all of the information to become a wedding day content
Yeah.
creator. If you're thinking about that in the new year or whenever you're listening to this episode, it is definitely a great career path if you're thinking about, doing it full time or having it as a side hustle. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach you how to do it, contract and all. So that is where
Yeah.
you can find me and all of the things.
Yay. I'm so glad you were on.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for having me. And thank you so much for setting up my killer Dubsado. So
Woo!
she is the best. So if
Oh,
you guys are
thanks.
looking to have all of your systems improved, you have to go to her because it is like saving me so much so I can grow and scale this business and just be like in the business.
Yeah. I love
So
that.
I love it too.
Perfect.